ya won't go a oneotea, ya won't go a lodina shonia, ya won't go a sojina weha, uyahine gana uyahea.
Sigoli Swagwig. Hello everyone, welcome to Ngwakwa, our foods. Today we're going to show you how we make Kanʌsto hale, which is traditional boiled bread made with corn flour and beans. We hope to have more on our foods in future videos, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and click on notifications for new uploads. For the Kanʌsto hale flour, we hulled our corn in hardwood ashes. If you haven't already checked it out, be sure to watch our hulling white corn video. It explains the process of how we hull our corn. After we hulled our corn, we dehydrated it. Some people just let the corn sit out overnight to dry. After it was dehydrated, we ground up our corn into a flour. We used a coffee grinder for this. To make our Kanʌsto hale today, we will need 5 cups of Kanʌsto hale flour, 1 cup of dried beans, a large kettle, 1 cup measuring cup, large glass measuring cup, I use a 4-cup measuring cup, mixing bowls, a serving dish or a cookie sheet, and a wooden spatula. To start, we soak the beans overnight in water. Make sure you cover them with plenty of water because they expand a lot when they soak up the water. The next day, rinse the beans and then cook the beans over the stove in a pot with plenty of water. Smaller beans will cook a little faster than larger beans. Today, we're cooking with corn planter purple beans, a beautiful little purple bean. As the beans are cooking, we fill the kettle about 3/4 full. Then we put it on the stove over high heat until it starts to boil. Before we put the loaves in the water, we turn down the heat so we have a nice rolling boil. When the beans are done and the water is boiling, we pour the beans into the Kanʌsto hale flour and mix it thoroughly with a wooden spoon. Be sure your beans are warm. If you use cold beans, your Kanʌsto hale might fall apart in the water. Next, we dip the large glass measuring cup into the now boiling water and take out about 3 to 4 cups of water. Pour about half of the water into the flour mixture and begin mixing the dough. Pour in more water and slowly begin mixing the dough with your hands until the texture is right. You might want to dip your hands in cool water to help protect them from the heat of the dough. The measurements are not what is most important here. The texture of the dough is. We're going for something that feels like Play-Doh. If your dough is still powdery, add a little more water. If your dough gets too runny, add more flour. Next, we form the dough into round loaves. Our parents share memories of Kanʌsto hale the size of dinner plates and 2 inches thick. I'm still perfecting these smaller loaves, but I hope to give the larger loaves a try someday. When your loaves are ready, carefully lower them into the boiling water. Don't forget to lower the heat before you put the loaves in, so you have a nice rolling boil. Too high of a boil can cause your loaves to rub against each other too much and fall apart. After the last loaf is in the water, we set our timer for 30 minutes. During the 30 minutes, we take our wooden spatula and push the loaves around a little bit to make sure they aren't getting too friendly in the water and sticking together. After 30 minutes, if the loaves start to float, that's a sign they're ready. When they're ready and 30 minutes have passed, we start to fish the loaves out of the water and put them on a serving tray or cookie sheet. There are lots of ways to eat Kanʌsto hale. One of our favorite ways is to cut it into slices and fry it up with a little butter and salt. We're frying it up in my Grandma Betty's famous cast iron skillet. This skillet cooked countless meals for a family with 13 children and continues to cook for our family today. As we prepare this Kanʌsto hale and fry it up, I want to share something I read when looking at some of our stories that Oneida people collected from each other starting in the late 1930s. This is a story from Denison Hill about a crew of men who got into a car accident and their cornbread lunches got scattered along the road. It shows us how our corn was always part of our daily lives and that Native people can find humor in all situations.
One time, some Oneidas were hired to go pick blueberries somewhere up north, probably Munising. Those who were hired got into a big automobile. They were riding somewhere and it tipped over on them. Pretty soon, some non-Indian people made a crowd and they helped these Oneidas. Some who were hurt were brought to the hospital in town. They just cleaned up the others and they recovered. Around where they had their accident, they say there were various loaves of cornbread since they were carrying their lunches. These non-Indian people saw the cornbread and thought they saw some kind of stones laying around.
We're still learning about our foods. People have different ways of cooking our foods. We're sharing the way we learned how. One of the most amazing parts about this journey to get to know our foods better is that it is connecting us to so many people throughout the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and throughout Indian country. If you have any methods you want to share, please feel free to drop them in the comments or send us an email. Yawa, Danito.